Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to Armor Animal Health's video series of Have You Heard? We're happy to bring you educational and relevant information to help your operations bottom line. My name is Katie Halowinski, and I've been with Armor Animal Health for the last 11 years. Prior to joining Armor, I grew up around the corner from my grandparents' dairy farm, where my siblings and I were very active in 4-H and FFA. We showed hogs and dairy cattle at our local county fair, which is the Calumet County Fair, and that's about 45 miles south of Green Bay. Of course, we also showed at our Wisconsin State Fair too. Now, I'm just curious, for those of you that are tuning in today, do we have any fair goers or exhibitors joining us today? Go ahead, give me a shout out and let me know in the comments which fair you attend, or maybe you even exhibit at, and let me know what you exhibit. Whether you show steers or make woodworking projects, or maybe you even exhibit your best canned pickles, I want to hear about it. So go ahead and comment which county you're joining us from, which state you're joining us from. We'd love to see who's all calling in and watching today from our Facebook Live. Now, this summer has been a little crazy already, and we know that a lot of fairs have been getting canceled. Even just last week, World Dairy Expo announced that it will not be happening in 2020. And let me tell you, our Armor Animal Health employees feel your pain there. We know that many of our youth will be spending their summer very differently this year. They probably will no longer be preparing their animals for shows or even market animal sales. So to bring some joy to this issue, we are going to be doing our own No Fair summer giveaway. So it's a great summer prize package. It includes an Armor gift card, cooler, sunscreen, supplies for s'mores, supplies for barbecuing, frisbees, glow sticks, and beach balls, volleyballs. Watch our Facebook page in the next coming weeks for details on our No Fair summer giveaway. So it's very easy. All you're going to have to do is simply share a photo of you and your fair animal and tag a friend. Absolutely everyone that participates is going to receive a coupon for an ice cream treat, but we'll also be giving away a Grand Champion prize pack and a Reserve Grand Champion prize pack. So we hope that this will bring some summer fun to your hard-working kiddos. So I see we have people joining us from all over Waushara County, Dodge County, Fond du Lac County, even Racine County. It's great to have you with us today. One of the most exciting things that we've done at Armor was acquire a state-of-the-art lab in March of 2019. Our lab is located in Portland, Oregon, and it provides herd health and reproductive solutions to help you detect disease and make informed decisions about your animals. We've tested over 4.4 million head of cattle and dairy animals for BVD, and we currently have clients in all 45 states. So utilizing our lab grants you access to industry experts. Our staff veterinarians are available to consult with you in areas related to disease control programs, as well as herd health strategies. That said, I'm going to be introducing you today to two of those industry experts. Heidi Anderson, she is our lab director, and she's joining us from Portland, Oregon. Heidi, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me on today. Based in Oregon. I currently work in Portland, and I live in a suburb of Portland in Oregon City, just down. I was born. I went to school at University of Oregon, and I got a degree in molecular biology. I started working in the biotech industry, and I started working here in the lab about 14 years ago. Love working in the animal health industry, love all the great people that I get to meet. It's a great place to be.
Wow, Heidi, 14 years with Armor Animal Health. That is great. And we're so glad to have you with us today. We also have joining us Leslie Gravatt. She's joining us from Wisconsin. She is our veterinary relations manager. Leslie, why don't you give our viewers your background?
Sure, Katie. I'm originally from Minnesota, where I've always had an interest in animals and ag. Growing up, I spent many weekends on my cousin's cow-calf operation or showing in dog sports. I went to the University of Minnesota and received an animal science degree in animal production systems. I currently reside in Waterloo, where we have lived now for 8.5 years. That is in Waterloo, Wisconsin, not Waterloo, Iowa. No, there's probably a Waterloo in every state across the United States, but we're in Wisconsin. That's about 30 minutes northeast of Madison. We have a small hobby farm where we share our life with our dogs and cats. Presently, I spend several weekends a month competing and training in a dog sport called flyball, doing lure coursing or herding with the dogs.
You sound very, very busy, Leslie, but we thank you for joining us today. For our viewers, today Leslie's going to be talking to us about BVD prevention, and Heidi's going to be taking us through some testing processes. But before we get into that, Leslie, why don't we give our viewers some background? First off, what is BVD?
So BVD is bovine viral diarrhea virus. As the name implies, it is a virus. There are two genotypes, type 1 and type 2, and within those genotypes, there's multiple subtypes. There are vaccines on the market that do contain these most common types in the United States, which would be 1A, 2A, and some vaccine contains 1B. BVD is spread through direct contact to bodily fluids. Also, it's shed in the semen of bulls, and indirect spread is possible as well. So if you have flies or other blood-feeding insects that bite one animal and then will bite another animal, it is possible to spread BVD. Also, with reused needles and contaminated surfaces and equipment. This is why it is so important to have a good biosecurity program on your operation. There are two different types of infection when it relates to BVD. There's acute, which is a transiently infected, or there's PI, which is persistently infected. Acute infections are acquired after birth through one of the routes I had mentioned earlier. These animals will still shed the BVD virus, but are usually shedding at lower levels than PI animals, and usually will be able to overcome the BVD and not carry BVD for life. On the other hand, PI animals will remain infected for their whole life and will be persistent shedders and have no cure available for them. PI animals are created when the dam is exposed to BVD between 40 to 130 days carrying calf. Also, if a cow is a BVD PI positive animal, she will always produce a PI positive calf. PI calves are born recognizing BVD as a normal part of their body and not as an invader. Therefore, the body does not attack the BVD virus, but instead allows it to replicate and shed continuously into the environment. Some clinical signs of BVD do depend upon the severity and the immune status of the animal. So these can range from no obvious clinical signs to depression, anorexia, eye or nasal discharge, decreased milk production, and oral lesions. There are still more dangers for pregnant cows since BVD can cross into the placenta and infect the calf. Operations can see congenital defects in their calves or even abortions.
All right, Leslie, I'm going to just interrupt you right there and remind our viewers that we want this to be interactive. So while Leslie and Heidi are talking, please feel free to mention in your comments questions that you have for them. You do not have to wait till the end of the presentation. If you think of something on off the top of your head that you have a question for them, just comment and we'll make sure to get those answered. So don't be shy. Leslie, I have one question. Why should this matter? Why should BVD matter to our viewers?
Yes, Kay, that is a very good question. On cow-calf operations, having BVD there and present can cause poor conception, abortions, the creation of PI calves, and overall weakened immune system in the animals. On dairy, very similar, same concerns, but on dairies, they also have to worry about decreased milk production and poorer quality milk. On a stock or feedlot operation, they can also see increased mortality, death loss, and then again, a weakened immune system. The biggest thing with the weakened immune system is it will cause increase in treatment costs because with the poor immune system, it allows other diseases to come in and cause illness.
Wow, whether you have dairy or beef, it doesn't matter. BVD sounds terrible. We definitely do not want BVD in our herds. Leslie, what is the economic impact if you do have BVD in your herd?
So Katie, for a cow-calf operation, you'd be looking at about $20 to $30 per cow. And according to BVD study with NAMS 2007 to 2008, about 8.8% incidence of cow-calf operations had BVD.
Wow.
For dairies, you'd be looking at about $45 to $55 per cow impact. And in 2013, Merck Animal Health and Animal Profiling International conducted a study and found an 18% prevalence rate in dairy herds for BVD. So for a stock or feedlot operation, you are looking at about a $20 to $45 economic loss per animal.
Yikes. Any animal, it sounds like that would be a big detriment to a farm. So another question I have is, are there any additional benefits to a farm if they are considered BVD free?
Yes, Katie, it does depend upon the region that you live, but you can get a premium for PI-free cattle at market. You will definitely have reduced treatment costs if you do not have BVD on your operation, and you'll have an increased production and reproduction rate.
And that's always a positive, having increased reproduction and production. So those sound like some really good benefits. So it's really important that we are BVD free. Moving on in our program, Heidi, can you tell us what we can do about BVD in our herds?
Sure, Katie. The first step is going to be to identify if you do in fact have BVD in your herd. The easiest way to do this is to test. That's why we're here. If you've never tested before, testing all of your newborns, stillborn, any aborted calves, it's going to give you a pretty good picture and indication of the BVD status in your herd. If you don't find any PI positive animals, that's great. You'll still want to continue to test all the calves. New herd entries for BVD. If you do find a PI positive calf, you're going to want to start testing all of the cows so that we can find the source of the BVD infection. Once you've identified and removed the PI animals from your herd, you can follow the proper biosecurity guidelines and remain BVD free as long as you continue to test. That's the most important part.
Got it. So Heidi, if we want to test our herd for BVD, so I'm a farmer and I want to test our herd, what is the process? How do I go about this?
Sure. The first step for testing is going to be to get the correct supplies. It's very simple. You're going to need some red top tubes, which are just non-additive blood tubes. These are good for blood samples or milk samples. They're what we prefer the ear notches in. You're going to need an ear notcher. Most people take ear notches. The red top tubes have a nice label on the outside that you can identify the animal on the outside of the tube. You need a sample submission form and a box to ship them to us. I mean, really, it's not much. And the good news is that Armor has all of the supplies that you're going to need to start testing. So I think, Leslie, you can show us an example of some of the ways to test with ease that you can get from Armor?
Sure, yes, Heidi. So our prepaid shipping packs that we have, the first thing that comes in there is a prepaid postal on, this is a medium example shipping box. So you get the box, and then you have your insulated pouch that all you have to do is put right in the box. Like so. And then you're going to take your blood samples, and we've included some plastic bags, and you're going to put your blood samples right in the plastic bag, and then you're going to securely close the bag. So that might mean that you would want to kind of tape it so that the blood tubes are not rolling around, and then put that inside the box. Once you have everything in there, you also are going to want to put your ice packs. You're going to want to freeze ice packs. You do get 2 of them in the shipping pack. So this is a frozen ice pack, and we're going to put it right in there as well, laying it nice on top. And if you need to secure the inside, you can put some added, whether it be newspaper, bubble wrap, something so that the tubes are not jostling around in there. We can't control Postal Service, Speedy, FedEx, UPS, however they handle the packages, but we can control how well we package them to prevent breakage. And then the last thing in the shipping pack is our submission form. So you're going to complete this submission form, and there's even a spot for you to mark how you want to get your results. So if you want to have it faxed, emailed, we can even mail or phone if needed. And then we're going to mark which test you're going to be running, and it even shows you how what type of samples that you're going to need to send in for that test. And of course, don't forget to put your name on the submission form so we know which farm is sending in the samples. Thanks, Heidi.
Great, thanks, Leslie, there for packaging your samples. We've got some examples of some samples that we receive and what they look like. The packages are received in the lab. They're unpacked and organized by number and pools. We receive samples a lot of different ways. Like I said, the most important thing is to package it so that they're not going to roll around in the box, so that they're going to, right? We get a lot of boxes that are dripping with milk, fortunately, or boxes where the blood tubes have broken. So the most important. So from here, we're going to unpack the samples. We put them into pools. If we have another, there we go. So there's an example of the ear notches being put in. The ear notches are going to stay in that vial journey through being tested. We don't ever remove them. So we put a couple mils of a buffer into the tube and let the ear notch soak. This is going to extract the BVD virus from the hair follicles where the virus sheds from. From there, the samples are going to be vortexed real quick just to mix it up, get that ear notch all soaked. And then we're going to take each of those vials and we're going to take a small aliquot of each tube that was in that box and make our own small pool. That pool is going to have roughly 28 to 30 animals represented in that small vial. And from there, we're going to take that animal pool and we're gonna run it on an RNA extraction machine so that we can isolate the BVD viral RNA for detection on the PCR machine. So the first picture there is our machine, and then the next picture is the PCR. So each one of those cone-shaped wells on the right is going to go into the PCR, and it represents 28 to 30 animals in each of those. There you can see the liquid. If we detect a positive pool to that box of 28 to 30 samples, and we're going to test each of those animals individual to determine the exact identity of the PI animal. We're going to type it up in a report, and the results will be emailed or texted or phoned to you, faxed, however you've indicated that you'd like to receive the results.
Got it. Thank you for taking us through that process, Heidi. And even those pictures were very helpful to me. So it was really neat to see how the test samples are ran. So if I'm a farmer and I get an email from you saying that I have a positive test, what do I do then?
If you receive a positive PI result, you can send us a free retest. We'll do another test free charge just to confirm the PI. Sometimes if you have transient infection in the herd, it is a possibility that a really raging transient infection could test positive. It is pretty rare, but we do like to give you the opportunity to send it in. And once the final PI status is confirmed, it's recommended that you euthanize.
Got it. Well, I want to thank Leslie and Heidi for taking us through, defining BVD and also the testing process, why it's important to test. We went through in the beginning about the economic impact. So I want to answer a question here that we have from Linda. Linda is wondering where the Merck API study is published.
Yep, thanks, Katie. We will put the link to that study in the comments so that everybody can read that in its full depth.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Another question we had come in is from Sandy. She is asking, can you explain how or why the PI calf is more susceptible to the disease and why its immune system is compromised?
Sure. So for a PI calf, they are born with BVD, and so they are never going to be able to get rid of it and shed it. And so it's that calf has already kind of behind the 8 ball with all the rest of the other calves and is not a normal, healthy producing animal. Heidi, did you have anything to share on PI calf?
Other than to add that they're not really, a poor producer. A lot of times some of the calves disease kind of continues to keep going is you cannot identify by looking at calves which one is a PI and which one is not. Because some animals do make it all the way to reproduce being PI positive. But definitely, I would say most of the time when people hear which of their animals is a PI, they could have guessed it because there's animals that are sick that have got all sorts of respiratory diseases just because of the secondary infection. So for sure.
Another question that kind of goes off of that and expands that question is there a certain age that you need to test the calf? And Vicki asked this question.
Heidi?
Yeah, there's no age. You can test newborns. You can test, 13-year-old cow if you've got one. It just doesn't matter.
And this is probably either one of you can answer this question. Vicki also asked, how accurate is the test?
So the test that we're using is, they've got the sensitivity and specificity of about 99.9%.
Got it. Another question we have that came in from James, he's asking, why is it important to continuously monitor BVD status of animals if animals have been negative and I do not buy animals from a high cattle population area?
Yes, okay, it's important to continue managing BVD on your operation because of the possibility, if, not to say if you happen to go to another operation and have brought BVD back, if you didn't properly clean off your boots, if you then had one of your animals get an acute infection and that animal then exposed a pregnant cow during that early window between that 40 and 130 days, you can then all of a sudden get a BVD PI calf on your operation.
Got it. And James followed up with another question, so I want to answer both of his questions. Another question he had is, does he have to keep testing that animal yearly once it's been tested, similar to what he does for his Yoni's cows?
Yeah, I can answer. Yeah, once an animal has been tested for BVD, it's just done once in a lifetime. Once they're negative, they're not going to become a PI. A PI has to be created in utero. So once tested, you're good to go.
Great, thank you for answering that, Heidi. Another question that came in from Vicky is she's asking, how many samples can you test in one day?
Oh gosh, thousands. I don't think we've hit a max yet. We typically do 2,000 to 5,000 in a day routinely every week.
Wow, 2,000 to 5,000. That's crazy. Another question from Vicky. She's interested. She's wondering, what is the cost to test for BVD?
So for that, I would recommend calling into our 1-800 number or reaching out to one of our Armor vets or one of our Armor sales reps.
All right, and I'm going to just take a second to go over some of the tools that we have, and I'll go over some tools while I'm waiting for more questions to come in. And I have up on the screen here some of the tools we can provide to you. So one of the things you're looking at is our BVD Overview Technical Bulletin, and this is written by our veterinary staff. It's an 8-page document that goes over anything and everything you need to know about BVD. So it's economic impact, the symptoms that you would see in a BVD animal, testing strategies, how to test, and also the testing process. So everything you need to know is in that technical bulletin. If you'd like to get your hands on that, just comment below and we'll definitely email that or mail that to you. Another thing that I wanted to mention is the submission form. If you'd like to see what one of our submission forms looks like, it comes in our shipping packs, but we can also send it to you ahead of time so that you can take a look at how simple the process is. And our lab cell sheet is also up on the screen. So our lab cell sheet talks about not just BVD, but we test many different things at our lab in Portland. We test for Yoni's, we do blood and pregnancy testing. If you're interested in that, we also do Yoni's and Neospora and also mastitis testing. So that cell sheet covers all the different tests we do at the lab. And lastly, on there is a sample collection form. And on that, it goes over just techniques and tips on how to take samples, whether you're doing a blood sample, whether you're testing your bulk tank and taking a milk sample for pregnancy. And then also, it also goes over ear notching and proper ear notching techniques. So while I was going over those tools, one more question did come in. And that is from Guy. Guy is asking, what do you do with a positive animal? And I know you mentioned this earlier. He may have just joined us a little later on. So could you go over that one more time, what you do with a positive animal?
Yeah, sure. So it's recommended that we retest it. So if you get a PI for the first time, send it in. We do a free retest. And then once we have confirmation, over a 3-week period that the animal is still testing as a PI positive, it's recommended that you euthanize the animal.
Yeah, and to add on that too with Heidi, that euthanizing the animal, not sending the animal to market or selling it to somebody else is the #1 recommended choice.
Right, right. We don't want to give that problem to anyone else. So that makes sense. Well, I want to thank everyone for all the great questions. It doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in today. So I'd like to thank Leslie and Heidi. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, ladies?
No, Katie. Oh. Thanks for having me on, Katie. It was a lot.
No problem, Heidi. And Leslie, I didn't want to cut you off there. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I was just going to say, if our viewers have any questions, call our 1-800 number. Reach out to an armor vet or also their herd vet so that they can work together to come up with the best detection and prevention plan for them.
Perfect. That sounds great. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's live video and learned something new. And if you did find it useful, please share this with your friends. And as a reminder, this video has been recorded. We went into a lot of detail on BVD today, so if you have to go back and watch something, it is going to be available on our YouTube channel as well, so you can go back and watch it there. If you are watching the recorded version, you can still ask questions and we will get those answered for you. Also, after today's live, you'll notice in our comment section that we're going to be posting a survey. And that survey is really simple. It's 2 questions. How can we serve you better? And which topics would you like to hear about in our future? But a little bonus on this week's survey, for the first 5 people to fill out the survey, we are going to be giving away free prepaid shipping packs. So the thing that Leslie showed and demonstrated, that shipping pack, we are going to be giving those away for free. So you can send us your BVD samples to our lab at no cost, shipping cost to you. Next week on Have You Heard, we will be interviewing our new CEO and president, Lynn Snodgrass, and I'm very excited about that interview. So tune in next week. We'll see you next Thursday at 3 p.m. on Have You Heard. Thank you.